Guys, July 11th, Mr. Mortgage here, the day that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac almost went down for the count. You're being bombarded by press over this subject, speculation. As a matter of fact, Bubble Vision reported that Fannie and Freddie were going to be able to use the Fed's window during trading today, shot the stock market up 150 points, only to have the Fed come out and deny it and send it straight back down. This is getting out of control already, and I'm here to shed a little bit of light onto you, interject my opinions, and see if we can establish where all this may be going and what the hazards are. First of all, my blog is located here. How about this for awesome graphics? ml-implode.com, the original mortgage lender implodometer. You go there, you see a banner with my head on it, click that. That takes you to my blog. So, Fannie and Freddie, government-sponsored enterprises. It looks like they're going down. With all sorts of other banks and other mortgage lenders, we've seen this movie before. Stock gets pile-drived. Everyone comes out and says they're fine, they're fully capitalized, and before you know it, the stock's under $2 a share, and all bad things are happening. So, not to use the stock price as any gauge, but it's kind of a leading indicator lately. So, what is going to happen here? Why not take these companies into the government and conservatorship, restructure these companies and give them a fresh start going forward? They've cleaned up, to the most degree, their lending practices over the past 6 months. The loans they're putting out now, as values are down, are probably much higher quality. They are much higher quality than any loans they've put out in the last 5 years. And going forward, they might, we need them. I mean, they make up 80% of the lending in the United States of America right now. FHA makes up pretty much the rest. And we can't lose these guys. On the other hand, the taxpayer can't foot the bill for their $5.3 trillion in mortgage guarantees. We have to keep securitizing loans and making agency securities to sell them off to investors in order to have new money to be able to make more loans on the front side, right? It's these $5.3 trillion out there that I'm all riled up over. Okay, first of all, these are owned by the smartest guys in the room. Okay, there's a misconception out there that the $5.3 trillion is backed by the government. No, only $4.5 billion of the $5.3 trillion is backed by the U.S. Treasury. It's been like that forever. These bond buyers, the guys who hold these bonds, are the smartest guys in the room. You are your public mutual funds, your pension funds, foreign governments, municipalities. Banks can own as much of this stuff as they want to, unregulated. These are the smartest guys around. They knew that their bonds weren't being insured, or the bonds weren't being backed by the United States government, and the market's liquid. It was liquid Friday, granted, but these bonds have taken haircuts. Spreads have widened. You heard in the news that spreads have widened over the past 3 days, week, 2 weeks on these bonds. That's the market pricing in risk for a change. There is risk inherent with mortgage-backed debt. It just is what it is. It's not a U.S. Treasury. Forever, mortgage-backed bonds followed U.S. Treasuries. Everyone considered them as safe as U.S. Treasuries. Now the spreads are widening, the pricing and risk, and there is risk inherent. So let's talk about what this risk may be, because people have a misconception that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac only make prime loans. Fannie Mae has said they have $350 billion in Alt-A exposure and $50 billion in subprime exposure. Freddie Mac has let's call it $700 billion total in Alt-A and subprime exposure out of the $5.3 trillion. So there's $4.6 trillion left. Is that A paper, sterling great borrowers? No. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have these computer systems called DU and LP that during the bubble years were set very loose. You enter your information in and it spits out, we'll buy the loan or we won't buy the loan finding. Okay? During the bubble years, better borrowers, I'm talking maybe 680 credit scores, 80 loan to value and less, could go in and the findings would spit out, for better borrowers, a lighter approval on a full doc loan. For example, instead of providing 2 years tax returns, they'd let you provide a current pay stub or a W-2. Fannie Mae would sell appraisal waivers, which means you don't need to get an appraisal, for $150 if the finding allowed it. That wasn't allowed on 100% loans or anything, don't get me wrong, but still, 80% loans 2 years ago are now underwater in states like California. Half of the people put second mortgages behind them, layered risk, right? There's a lot of these loans at risk. So out of that $4.6 trillion, let's just say 15% are these limited finding computer-generated loans, based on FICO, heavy on FICO in many cases. We know FICO is a flawed system now too, right? You could buy yourself a credit score over the past 5 years by refinancing your house and paying off all your debt. So if out of the $4.6 trillion that's left, it's supposed to be prime, 15% of these limited findings, values are down 30%, throwing people into negative equity position, you might have 20% of those that are questionable. That's another $900 billion on top of the $700 billion. We know that's questionable. That's $1.6 trillion in questionable loans and guarantees sitting, the Fannie Mae guarantees, that now will go into the government if they back these bonds. These bondholders, the smartest guys in the rooms, are screaming for a bailout for the $5.3 trillion so they get their little payments. They can take a 5 to 10% hit across their mortgage-backed portfolio. That's not the end of the world. What's the end of the world is asking the taxpayer to guarantee $5.3 trillion in payments to bondholders when we have no idea how these loans are going to perform or where the bottom is to this real estate market. It's absolutely unacceptable. This is on top of Dodd's $300 billion bailout, where you'll get a mortgage modification, but you'll split all your upside with the borrowers. The subprime problem is by and large over. The subprime defaults are plateauing at about 40-45% level. It's the Alt-A and prime that are spiking due to the negative equity. So Dodd's way behind the 8 ball. Now we're talking about the prime and an A paper bailout, which I told you would be Dodd's would be the first of many. This doesn't even include the private label Alt-A and prime and subprime sitting out there, that are going to need bailouts, right? I mean, jumbo loans and all the stuff that Lehman and Bear and produced, with your Alt-A's. Who's going to bail out those? We're talking trillions of dollars here, guys. We can't let this happen. We got to fight this. I don't know how we fight it, but we got to get the word out there. Backing up rich major investors on their mortgage-backed bond holdings is absolute, on the taxpayer dollar, is unacceptable. Again, they can take a 5 to 10% haircut across their portfolio, even 15%, and probably come out okay. It's going to sting, but hey, you win some, you lose some. So I hope we shed some light on Fannie Mae, their real inherent risks with the loans they made. We have to bail these guys out. We have to have them on the front side or the housing market goes into a death spiral. On the backside, the mortgage-backed bonds out there are liquid today. They've never had a bailout before, or they've never had a backing before, so why do they need a backing in the future? We're talking about doing something retroactive here. It's absolutely insane. So I hope I shed some light on what's happening here. I want to talk a little bit about advertisers. We put advertisers on our site now. We've thoroughly checked out all of these companies. We put on Mr. Mortgage and ML Unplugged. This is because of the hundreds of emails we get every week for help. So we found companies. They're partnered up with us on our sites. Last week I did one on Green Credit Solutions, getgreencredit.com on mortgage modifications. This week I want to talk about one called youwalkaway.com. These guys have an attorney network across the nation for people who are planning to walk away from their homes. You don't have to go with the notice of default. There's laws in your state you can leverage to stay in your home 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Some banks will pay your security deposit and pay you to get out of your house legally. You just don't know what to ask for, the common homeowner. These guys are very inexpensive. They've helped thousands of people, and I think they're a great resource if you're just planning to walk away because you're upside down, you're planning a deed in lieu or a short sale. They can help you with that kind of stuff. If you say Mr. Mortgage sent you, they give you $100 off the service. So go to my site and look at the You Walk Away banner there. If you need that help, we've researched them and they are the real deal. That's all for now. When you're on my site, enter your email address in, and that'll update you every day via email, all the stuff that I do on the blog. Subscribe to this video channel by hitting subscribe right below the screen there. And stars, guys. I still work for stars. I would love that 5-star if you like this video. Have a great day, and don't believe the hype.